Hello, Caleb. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in, Caleb. Appreciate you. All right. Hello, Matthew. Yes, we are gonna be recapping all of the games. All of you guys came in at a great time. Yes, it was an insane day. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so we're live on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. Feel free to say hi wherever you want. Give me just a second. But I think the issue with the Kick chat has been solved, but not 100% sure. Hopefully it has been. Looks better now. All right. Hello. Yeah, hello, Samuel. All right. Okay, are you guys ready? We're going to do a recap of all of the games. All right. Let me do this so my hair is fully in there. All right. Okay. Okay, guys. We're going to get started very, very soon. Let me check real quick. I think everything is set up correctly. Yep. Yep. Okay. Hello, Heminisco. Good to see you. Okay, everyone, we're going to do a recap of all of the games. So feel free to say hi now. All right. Wherever you're watching, whether that's Twitch, Kick, or YouTube. Okay, hello, Twite. Hello, Grotesian. Okay, guys, here we go. Wait, check, mic check. Mic levels seem good. Wait, let me check. Board sounds, are board sounds good or a little bit too loud? Board sounds a little bit too loud, yeah? I'll turn on the board sounds a little bit. This might be better. I'll turn it down a touch more. This better? I think this is better, no? Yeah, seem fine. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna record a recap. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today was the second round of the FIDE candidates in 2024, and today we had a very exciting day of chess. Yesterday we saw 4 draws, so all of the players tied for the lead or for last place, whatever you want to call it. But today was a very exciting day, so let's have a look at the games. We had Pragnananda with Gukesh, so let's have a look. Prag opened up with the move d4, d5 by Gukesh, c4, e6, now knight f3, knight f6, g3. All this pretty standard. White going for the very solid Catalan opening, and black going for one of the main moves, bishop e4, check. Other ways to play here, for example, to take the pawn on c4 or bishop e7. But bishop e4 check was played. Now here what white usually does is white usually plays bishop to d2 to block the check, and then black often drops the bishop back to e7 and argues that the bishop on d2 is slightly misplaced. But Pragnananda had completely different ideas. He went for the move knight to c3. And this transposes back into the Nimzo Indian with an early g3. Let me show you. For example, in case let's say black goes knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop e4, and white goes g3 here. Here often black goes d5, and then later on we'll take that pawn on c4. And we will see something very similar in the game. It actually transposes. So again, let's have a look. So knight c3, a risky move by Pragnananda. Again, often it does involve a pawn sacrifice, and Gukesh just takes it. So bishop to g2, castles. Now you might be wondering, like, why is it more appealing for black to take the pawn on c4 here, as opposed to other lines in the Catalan? Well, the knight on c3 is sometimes a little bit misplaced, because normally in the Catalan, white can try to regain it with queen c2 coming, hitting the pawn. But now, again, the knight is a little bit in the way. So after castles, an idea here for white is to go knight e5 quickly, hit this pawn, and that is why Gukesh plays the move knight to c6, stopping that knight jump and putting pressure on pawn on d4. and developing a piece, of course. So Prag goes a3, challenging the bishop. Now, black can take, but then you can see the bishop pair, and white's center here gets even stronger, as now the pawn on c3 supports the pawn on d4. So Gukash plays the move bishop to e7, but this allows Praggnanandhaa to build a big center with the move e4. So white has a nice center, but, you know, white is down a pawn, this pawn on c4. And so what does Gukash do? He plays the move a6, intending to go b5 to support that pawn on c4. Bishop to e3, b5, again supporting the pawn, and also he's aiming to fianchetto his bishop with the move bishop e7 coming next. All right, queen e2, and up to this point, I believe both players had been following my course. Actually, I think I recommend knight e5 here, but I actually get back into the course via a different move order. So b5, queen e2, bishop b7, rook a81, and here knight a5, a very important move, stopping or taking the sting out of the d5 pushes. Now it's no longer attacking the knight. So here we see that Gukash had already been spending some time, and Praggnanandhaa still playing super quickly. So it's clear that he's still in his preparation. And Prag here goes for another pawn sacrifice. He goes for d5. Takes, you can recapture, but black is doing absolutely fine there. And so Prag goes for the move e5, hitting the knight. The knight has to jump back to e8. Not ideal, but again, look at the position. Black is up 2 pawns, and the evil bar is giving black already a -1 advantage. So very risky opening choice here by Praggnanandhaa. By the way, this is all covered in the great course of myself, which by the way is on sale, so feel free to check it out. Link is in the description. Anyway, let's get back to the game. Here, Prag played the move e6, sacrificing yet another pawn. Now, Gukash's best move here is to take it, and I'm not 100% sure what Praggnanandhaa had in mind here. White certainly has play here, because he has a lead in development, and black is a little bit pushed back, but I personally find it hard to believe that white has enough compensation here. But Gukash was out of book, he goes for the move f5. Also, perfectly fine move. And now we see the move knight to e5 by Praggnanandhaa, moving his knight up to the middle and attacking that pawn on d5. Black cannot let white take here. And so Gukash played the move knight to f6. Another move to defend the pawn is the move c6. But after c6, you have to be ready to sacrifice the exchange on a fade. Alright, so knight f6 was played, defending the pawn and stopping knight d7. And this is the first moment where Prag is out of book. Here he goes for the move queen to c2, hitting the pawn on the 5, but perhaps this was not a good move. According to the computer, the best move here is the move rook to e1, bringing yet another piece into the game. But queen c2, hitting the pawn, and what Gukash should have done here is just completely ignore the threat and play a move like c5, preparing to go d4, and look at these pawns in the middle. But the calculations here are not that easy for black. For example, what Gukash had to calculate is that, let's say after knight takes d5, you will take with the knight. And let's say white takes to the rook, takes and goes rook d1, hitting the bishop, which is now pinned. Black can just sacrifice the queen with bishop takes e6. And after takes, white is a queen, but black's got 2 rooks, and black's also got 2 pawns, and white simply does not have enough threats here. But it's not that easy to calculate all of this. The bishops are a little bit loose on the e-file. So Gukash did not go for this. Instead, he went for the move pawn to c6, solidifying the pawn on d5, but this does hang the pawn on f5, which Praggnanandhaa took. So he took the pawn, queen e8, a nice move, making sure that knight f7 no longer comes for the tempo. Prag played it anyway, though, and according to the computer, this also was a mistake. Gukash plays bishop to c8, putting pressure on that pawn on e6. If this pawn drops, white really doesn't have a whole lot left. I mean, this bishop on g2 is completely neutralized. It's honestly very difficult to see why Prag went for this opening. So rook f1 was played, knight b7 by Gukash, perhaps a little bit slow, but he wants to go knight d6 or knight here, again, to try to round up that pawn on e6. Prag goes bishop to g5, putting pressure on the knight. Rook a7, bringing his rook into the defense via the 7 rank. But perhaps this was all a little bit too slow, and here Prag goes for a sacrifice. He takes on f6, black recaptures, and now bishop takes d5, sacrificing the bishop in the middle of the board. Black takes, white recaptures, hitting the bishop, and both these knights look a little bit scary. Black is up a piece here, but the black pieces are a little bit clumsy here on the queen side. So Gukash plays bishop to e7, but here Prag misses his chance. Here he had a way to fight back and make a draw, but not at all easy. He had to play the move knight h6 check. If the king steps into the corner, then you go knight f7, and black has to step back. And the idea is that in case you take the knight, then there's a check on g4. And if you go to h8, then there's queen d4 check. And after king g8, first of all, you can go back. You can also pick up the rook over here. And things are not that bad. Actually, you should first take here and then take here, and it's approximately even. And after queen g4 check, there is bishop to g5 by black to block. But then after something like h4, it turns out that white does have enough compensation. White gets a pretty scary attack. Again, these pieces are not fully into the game. So that is absolutely what Pragg had to do. But he didn't. He played the move queen g4 right away. But this is too slow. This allows Gukesh to mobilize his forces and bring more pieces into the defense. He plays the move knight d8. Again, trying to get rid of that annoying knight on f7. And the difference is that now if you go knight h6, black goes here, and knight f7 is no longer a move, as black can just take it with the knight. And this is all just completely over. You're just down a piece. That's it. So Pragg trades off the knights. Black recaptures. And this is just bad. He's just down a piece. He does have some compensation, but definitely not enough. And also look at the clock. Pragg Nananda was down to 3 minutes. Gukesh, to be fair, down to 5. But Pragg definitely in more serious time pressure. And also keep in mind, everyone, that there is no increment for the first 40 moves. So if you have no time, you really have no time. You can lose the game like that. So the players had to speed up here. So queen e4 was played, attacking the rook. Gukesh just calmly moves his rook over to b7. Rook e4 by Pragg, bringing his rook into the game. But just bishop f6, very calm moves by Gukesh, hitting the queen. Queen e3, bishop e7, making sure that pawn doesn't go anywhere. h4, queen c6, bring the queen in. h5, bishop c5, I mean, this is not doing anything. Hitting the queen, hitting f2. Queen g5 was played. Picks up the pawn on e6, h6. Picks up the pawn on f2, and it's just completely over. So Gukesh scores a crushing victory with the black pieces against Pragg Nananda, and is now one of the leaders of the candidates tournaments at the very young age of 17 years old. So very impressive start by him. Let's move on to the next game. So the next game was played between Fabiano Caruana and Nijat Abbasov. Definitely a must-win game for Fabiano. I mean, he's the highest seed in the tournament. He's playing with the white pieces, and he's playing as the lowest seed, who has the black pieces. So Fabiano sticks to his bread and butter and opens up the game with the move 1e4. And here Abbasov plays the move c5. This is what he has been playing in the World Cup, the way he qualified. Again, he came fourth in the World Cup. Absolutely sensational result. And so he sticks to his guns. Knight f3 by Fabiano, knight c6. And so here there are many ways for white to play. For example, you can go into the open Sicilian with the move d4. But Fabiano has other intentions. He goes for the move bishop to b5. And this is called the Rossolimo attack of the Sicilian. Going for a bit of a reload pass against the Sicilian. White often wants to take here to double black's pawns. Now, Nijat goes here for the move e5, putting a pawn in the center himself. Castles and bishop to d6. This setup might look a little bit weird, but you want to place the bishop here, then go knight here. Often drop the bishop back to c7, then go d6, and develop that way. Alright, so Fabiano plays the move d3. He played it quite quickly. It's clear that he's still in prep. Knight f6, knight of c3, castles, and now he plays the move h3. I guess the idea behind the move h3 is to often go bishop here and not be bothered by the move knight g4, challenging the bishop. a6 by Nijat, challenging the bishop. And here Fabiano decides to give up his bishop for the knight. So now black is getting those double pawns that we were talking about earlier. Black can recapture two ways, but you're always going to be struggling with these pawns on the c file. Nijat decided to take with the d pawn to also open up his light square bishop. And here Fabiano goes for a nice move. He plays the move a knight to h4. So he wants to go knight f5 potentially, maybe queen f3, because he does not mind trading off this knight for the light square bishop, because the bishop on d6, I mean, I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's a little bit stuck between its own pawns, whereas the light square bishop can nicely move in between the pawns. So Nijat goes rook e8. Now he can potentially meet knight f5 with bishop f8. And after queen f3, he goes g6, stopping the knight f5 jump altogether. But the drawback of the move g6 is that now you weaken the knight on f6. So Fabiano goes for the move bishop to g5, pinning the knight right away. Nijat goes bishop to e7 to neutralize the pin. And here queen e3 by Fabiano. A very nice move. because he potentially wants to go f4, open up the f-file to try to attack this king on g8. All right, so knight h5 was played, offering the trade of bishops, and also taking this thing out of that f4 push. So we see a trade, knight back to f3, pawn b6 by Nijat, now a3 by Fabiano. The idea behind move a3 is to often go b4 quickly and try to break up black's pawn structure on the queen side. And here I'm a little bit surprised by Nijat's move. I would expect him to play something like maybe pawn a5. But I do understand that he did not quite want to be bothered with a move like knight a4, hitting this, because you can never go b5 as they will hang the pawn over here. So it's all a little bit unpleasant. But the move he plays b5 makes the pawn on c5 a permanent weakness, because the pawn on c5 is a double pawn, and it is not supported by any of its neighbors. Neither can it ever be supported by any of its neighbors in the future. Now Fabiano here goes knight e2, f6, and now knight to d2, a very instructive plan as he wants to go f4. Again, open up that f-file to try to put pressure on that pawn on f6. So bishop e6, f4, Nijat took, takes, rook takes f4. And here we see the concept of two weaknesses. The pawn on c5 is weak, and the pawn on f6 is weak. So it will be difficult for black to hold this together. Rook a8 was played, bring the rook into the game, and now queen f2, putting a lot of pressure on that pawn over here. So king g7 by, rook f8 by Nijat, rook f1, attacking the pawn once again, and king g7 to defend it. Now here an interesting move by Fabiano. He goes for the move pawn to b4. He's attacking the pawn on c5, so black takes, and you might be wondering, well, why did Fabiano do that? Why did he get rid of his opponent's doubled pawns? Well, the thing is that now these pawns on a6 and c6 are a little bit backwards, and he can try to maneuver his knight via the d4 square, where it would put pressure on the pawn, on the bishop, and the knight on d4 can never be challenged because black does not have the c5 push available. So that's his idea. So rook e8, and because that perhaps Fabiano here should have played the move knight f3 right away, with the idea to go knight d4, but it does involve some sacrifice, because here black could play the move g5, which puts the rook in a bit of trouble. I mean, maybe it's okay after something like queen g3, but, you know, it's understandable that he didn't want to go for this. Instead, he goes king to h1, just moving his king out of this diagonal, making sure that black never has any checks. And here Nijat plays a nice move. He goes for the move a5, liquidating, trading off some pawns, and bring his rook into the game. And because of that, I think he probably should have taken the pawn right away, but maybe he was a little bit worried about something like queen b6, hitting the rook and the pawn. But it turns out that after rook a2, hitting this, takes, and rook c8, black is doing quite okay. Alright, so c5 was played by Nijat, but now Fabiano goes rook a1, hanging onto the pawn and making it difficult for black to get it back. Rook a6 was played, e5, hitting the pawn on f6. White sacrificing the pawn, but you're not in great shape to take it, as here white can trade. And now, you know, maybe something like queen e3 hitting the pawn. You can maybe even consider trading again, and then something like knight e4. And this endgame looks quite miserable for black. I mean, this a pawn stays on the board, the knight comes into the action. So Nijat played the move pawn to f5. Now we see c4 by Fabiano, putting pressure on the pawn on b5, and also he has the idea to go knight b3 to put pressure on the pawn on c5, as now the bishop can no longer trade itself off for the knight. Alright, so we see a trade on c4, Fabiano recaptures, and now rook fa8 by Nijat, hitting the pawn on a5 once more. So Fabiano goes knight b3 to defend the pawn and hit the pawn on c5, g5 by Nijat, excellent move, hitting the rook back, and moving it away from the defense of the c4 pawn. So rook f3, queen g3, hitting the pawn. And here he makes a big mistake. I think the move he plays here is just a little bit too slow. Apparently, he should have played the move rook ba, but all of this is very difficult because rook ba does invite a sacrifice with knight takes c5. And over the board, this looks super scary, because if you take, white takes here, the king moves back, there's a check, king here, and the black king is wide open, and looks like you might be lost after something like rook f3, followed by rook g3, but black is just in time to go f4. And one way or another, black is holding on here. So, all very difficult. Nijat did not go for this. Instead, he played the move h6, defending the pawn on g5. Now Fabiano goes rook f2, moving his rook back, and he takes the pawn on c4. But now he's hanging the pawn on f5. And with the rook coming to f5, all of a sudden this king over here, he is starting to feel the heat. He traded off his bishop for the knight, and regains the pawn on a5. But the difference in king safety here is just massive. Look at this white king on h1. It's just completely safe. And as king on g7, it's quite airy, and Fabiano goes for the king with the move rook af1. And it's honestly difficult to see how black can defend here. Rook f7 is a big threat, giving a check and attacking the queen. And if you play something like rook a7 with the idea to give up your queen for 2 rooks, I mean, here black is fine, white just plays the move pawn to e6. And there's not much you can do about rook f7 coming next. Also, this diagonal opens up. Black is absolutely busted here. So Nijat plays the move king to h8, but now rook f7 hitting the queen, and black is absolutely lost, and Nijat just resigned. The problem is, if you move your queen, let's say by taking the pawn over here, there's just check, check, and mate. So very nice win for Fabiano. He's truly living up to his role of the favorite in the tournament. I mean, he's the rating favorite, the only player over 2800. And 1.5 out of 2 in the first 2 games is a very decent result. You just want to make sure to make it into that top half early on, and then, you know, take chances as they come and go. So nice start for Fabiano. Let's have a look at the next game. The next game was between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Gucci Reza Firouzja. So they also played in the candidates in 2022. Jan completely crushed Firouzja straight out of the opening. So I was very curious to see how Ali Reza would do this time around. So back in 2022, Firouzja played the Najdorf defense. So after e4, he played the move c5, the Sicilian. But the Sicilian is very sharp. There's a lot of lines you have to know, and Nepo went for a line that Firouzja wasn't 100% familiar with. And again, he just completely crushed him out of the opening. So that is really the risk of the Sicilian. And that is why this time around, Firouzja plays it a lot more solid with the move e5. If you want to be solid, just meet e4 with e5. That's a good strategy. So knight f3, knight c6. And again, if you want to be solid, meet the reload pass with the move knight f6 to Berlin defense. Now here, white has some options. For example, white can castle here. Black takes on e4. And the main line goes d4. And after knight d6, you can go into this endgame, but all of this has been analyzed out since the dawn of human time. White has a space advantage, and white has black has these double pawns. The black king is in the center, but black is fine due to the pair of bishops. Anyway, just wanted to give you guys a bit of background about this opening, and that's why Jan played the move d3, defending the pawn on e4. Now Ali Reza plays bishop to c5. c3, castles, castles. And here there are some moves for black. One move is d6, and we will see them move very soon. But Ali Reza goes for the move pawn to d5, challenging that pawn on e4 right away. So Jan takes, black recaptures, bishop to c4, hitting the queen. The queen jump back to d8, b4, hitting the bishop, bishop to e7. And here both players were still playing super quickly. Alright. So Jan goes knight b2. So if they're playing quickly, it is a clear sign that both of them are still in their preparation. All right, so a6 was played, taking this thing out of the b5 push. a4 by Nepo, bishop f5, queen c2, knight d5, knight e4, bishop g4. And after the move bishop g4, black is kind of threatening to take here and double the white pawns in front of the white king. So usually you think that white should move the knight. But Nepo has different intentions. He goes for the move queen to a2, hitting the knight jumped here, hitting the bishop, and Jan just played bishop e3. So not only is he allowing black to take the knight, double his pawns, and open up his king, he's also allowing black to take this pawn on d3. So very risky strategy, but the upside is that you do get the bishop pair, and often you will play this move a5 to kick this knight back to the c8 or the d7 square, something more passive. Anyway, Ali Reza takes up the challenge. He takes the pawn on d3. Ali Reza, by the way, apparently he was still in book, still playing very quickly. King g2 by Nepo. I'm sure the Nepo was in prep as well. Queen to d7 by Ali Reza. Rook d1, and now queen to e8. So Ali Reza takes the pawn, and he's telling Jan, you know, like, show me the money. Where's your compensation? If you don't have it, then, you know, you're down a pawn. This king is a little bit exposed. And here Jan went for the very original h4, knight c8, h5, king h8, h6. So with the last 3 moves, he's just pushed up this pawn. But the question is, what does he really achieve? Well, the thing is always, when you have such a pawn on h6, black one way or another has to weaken their king. For example, if you go g6, then if, in case white goes queen e2, like if white ever takes, there's always checkmating ideas around the black king. So it's not so easy for black to play this position. So I think Ali Reza made a good decision. Instead of going g6, he goes for the move g5. Same idea, keeping his pawn structure on the king side intact, but also gaining some more space. Here Nepo goes queen to d2, knight d6, bishop e2. And here perhaps a mistake by Alireza. I think at some point he should have played either f6 or f5 to try to bring his queen in. And I think black's doing pretty well. Black's up a pawn. And these pawns are doubled. I mean, white is the bishop pair, but it's difficult to see how exactly white is going to create real compensation. But he goes for the move knight f5. And this allows queen d7. Hitting the knight, offering a queen trade, hitting this. And here Alireza gives a check. The king went back to f1, sacrificing yet another pawn. Now Alireza goes f5, hitting the knight. And now he's ready to bring that queen into the game. So knight g3, Alireza takes the pawn. But now b5, a nice move by Nepo, hitting the knight. And his idea is to potentially go c4 and have both of the bishops staring down at the black king. So f4 by Alireza, hitting the knight. The knight jumped into the middle with knight e4. And now knight a5, hitting the bishop on b3. The bishop moved to e6. And here, queen to g6 by Alireza. Crazy move. He's attacking the bishop, but he's sacrificing his own bishop on e7. Perhaps he was not happy about any of the endgames. And you might be wondering why. You might be wondering like, okay, well, you know, why is this bad for black, right? I mean, black's up 2 pawns, right? Like, hey, they're +2. But the problem is that your king over here is always going to be weak. The knights are, you know, scattered over the board. The pawn on e5 can often be weak. This pawn is hanging. And so even though black's up 2 pawns, black's doing pretty bad in this endgame. And that's why, again, Alireza went for an all-out attack. He played queen to g6. And also, look at the clock. Alireza below 5 minutes, and he still needs to make another 11 moves to reach the time control, get an additional half an hour on the clock, and get that 30-second increment. So Nepo took up the challenge. He took the bishop on e7. Alireza finally gets rid of that super annoying pawn on h6. But again, I think the price he's paying here is a little bit too high. Bishop f7 here by Nepo, making sure the queen can never go here. And Alireza gives a check on h3. So the king is forced into the middle. Queen f5, hitting the knight. And now bishop d5, defending the knight over here. And again, the white king is in the middle. Nepo doing a little bit of a bomb cloud action. But there's no good way to reach the king. I mean, there's no check available here. These white pieces are completely holding everything together in the center. And so Firouzja plays the move rook a e8 with 24 seconds on the clock. 24 seconds. And he needs to make another 7 moves to reach the time control. So that is like 3 seconds or so per move. So he's in serious time pressure. Nepo decides to take another pawn, hitting the knight. Queen g4 by Firouzja, x-raying the king. Nepo just steps the king out of the way. Rook to d8, hitting the bishop. Again, rook d8 with 12 seconds on the clock. He needs to make another 5 moves. Nepo goes c4 to defend the bishop. Here, Firouzja decides to sacrifice yet another exchange by taking over here. Take and goes queen to h3, again with 10 seconds, barely any time. And I think here Nepo did very well. Nepo has been known as a speedy player. He would often blitz along in these types of situations because it's very tempting. It's very tempting to try to, you know, flag your opponent or try to trick him. But if you have time, use it. Use your time advantage. You know, that's how you actually use it by taking your time. And that's what Nepo did. He played knight to g3, sacrificing the knight, but closing down on this x-ray. Firouzja played knight to c4, hitting the bishop, but Nepo just took the knight. And the idea is that now he can take, because if you take the knight right away, there's bishop takes e5, and white gets too many moves and would check. For example, in case you take, there's check, then you give a check over here, you give a check over here, and then you take here, you trade everything off, and the endgame is just easily winning for white up an exchange and a pawn. Alright, so knight to c4 was played by Firouzja, trying to deflect the white piece in case you take the king. There's rook c8. Those were his ideas. But Nepo just takes with the queen, gives up the knight. But now he takes and he's up a rook, and the white king isn't in too much danger. So Firouzja took on b5. Now he finally does reach the time control, but with a completely lost position. Nepo recaptured. Rook to c8 was played, hitting the queen, and Nepo goes rook to h1. He's not moving his queen. He's just hitting the black queen, telling it to get lost. So the queen moves back to d7, queen e4, hitting the knight, also always eyeing the pawn on h7, so that in case white takes, it will be checkmate. You can take the pawn on b5, but white just goes king e3, and if you give another check, queen e3, and you have to trade the queens, and this endgame is completely lost as black is down a full rook. So king to g8 was played by Alireza, but now Nepo just goes king e3, hitting the knight, knight d4, he took, and Firouzja resigned. So a very nice win here for Jan Nepomniachtchi. He's again showing that in the candidates he is able to bring his A game, and he also joins the leaders on 1.5 out of 2. And so for Firouzja, I mean, it's far from over. Only 2 rounds have been played, but he really has to step up his game in the next couple of games. So now let's have a look at the game of the round. We will have a look at the game between Hikaru Nakamura and Vidit Gujrati from India. So Hikaru coming into this tournament, one of the rating favorites, weighing in with a rating of 27.89. Vidit, one of the lower seeds perhaps at 27.27. But Vidit, he won the Grand Swiss, a big tournament, the strongest open tournament in history. So he's definitely deserving of his spot here. Now let's have a look how this game went. So Hikaru went for the move e4, e5 by Vidit. Again, if you want to play it solid, just play the move e5. Now, some of you might be wondering, why did Vidit take a minute for the first move? Vidit often at the start of the game likes to meditate to fully get into the zone. Alright, so knight f3 by Hikaru, knight c6 and bishop e5. So here we see yet another Ruy Lopez. And again, if you want to play solid against Ruy Lopez, a very solid weapon is the Berlin defense with the move knight f6. Again, hitting the pawn on e4. And Hikaru, just like Nepo, plays the move d3, defending the pawn over here. Bishop to c5, c3, castles. Now, we saw all of this in the game between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Alireza Firouzja. And in that game, Firouzja played the move d5, but Vidit has other ideas. He goes for the move pawn to d6, defending this pawn over here. Hikaru plays h3, always a useful move, making some move for the king, taking away the g4 square for the knight and the bishop. And Vidit goes knight e7, and the idea behind the move knight e7 is to go knight to g6, then go c6, move this bishop away. Alright, but here, the drawback of the move knight e7 is that you move a piece away from the center. And so here, Hikaru plays the move d4, hitting the bishop, hitting the pawn over here. Now here, Vidit came up with a very interesting move. This position has been played for more than 10 years, and Black would usually always just go bishop to b6, move the bishop out of the way, and then play would continue with moves like rook e1, knight at d2. There's many ways to continue. But Vidit played the move pawn to c6, hitting the bishop. Now, he's leaving his own bishop hanging, so Hikaru could have taken, and then in case Black takes here, take the pawn on g6. But it turns out that after knight g6, Black is doing quite fine here. The pawn on d6 is a little bit cut off from the white chain, and probably Black should be able to pick it up sooner or later, maybe with moves like queen b6 and rook to d8. Alright, so Hikaru, I think, made a wise decision. He decided not to enter any of the forcing lines of Vidit's preparation and goes bishop to d3. Now Vidit goes bishop to b6. So I think by going c6 first, Vidit is limiting Hikaru's options a little bit if Hikaru wants to go for setups with knight bd2 and rook e1, as he's already committed his bishop to d3. Whereas sometimes you can also go bishop a4 and bishop c2, or bishop back all the way to f1. But by doing this, Vidit is sacrificing the pawn on e5. Now, I think given the fact that Vidit was playing all of this so quickly, I don't think Hikaru should have taken it. I think he should have just played slowly with moves like rook e1, knight bd2, and we have a normal standard game, which is approximately even. But Hikaru decides to take up the challenge. He takes the pawn on e5, Black recaptures, takes the pawn again. And you might be wondering, like, okay, well, what is the idea? Why is Vidit just giving up a pawn in the middle of the board? Well, his idea is that now here, he has the move bishop takes h3. What? He's just sacrificing this bishop, like, over here. Well, what is the idea in case you take? In case you take, now there's queen b8, hitting the knight. And there's no good way to defend the knight. We'll have a look at that soon. And if you move the knight back, then there's queen g3 check. You cannot take the queen as the f-pawn is pinned. And if you move the king, then Black takes here. And after knight h2, it turns out that Black is in crushing attack after rook d8, hitting the bishop. And White absolutely should not go for this. So Hikaru should have taken the bishop, but after queen of b8, he should have played something like bishop f4, defending the knight. Now here there's bishop c7, hitting the knight once again. And there's no good way to protect it, but you can go for something like bishop h2, so that after takes there's f4. But this position is probably approximately balanced. White has the bishop pair. White's king a little bit airy. These pawns over here are nice, but also vulnerable. This is what Hikaru had to go for, but instead Hikaru goes for knight to c4. Not a good move. I mean, now the material's even, but FIDE took a very important pawn away from Hikaru's kingside, making sure that the white king over here will always be in some danger. So FIDE goes bishop g4. Nice move, hitting the queen. Now here Hikaru in an interview said that he was initially intending to move bishop e2, with the idea that after takes, he thought that black cannot take the pawn on e4 because he was intending to take on b6 and then go rook e1, hitting the knight e4 on e7. But it turns out that here FIDE has to move a knight to c5, sacrificing the knight, but now there's knight b3, trapping the rook in the corner, because if you take, then black takes. And for the moment, black is down a rook for a knight and a bishop, but, you know, black is going to win a piece back and will be completely winning in the endgame. Alright, so Hikaru, after bishop g4, played the move queen to c2. And here another excellent move by FIDE. He goes bishop to c7. So he's eyeing the white king over here on g1. He's allowing the move e5 by Hikaru, which is attacking the knight and this pawn over here. But he's not afraid. He goes knight d7, sacrificing the pawn. Hikaru takes it, king h8. But here it's not clear what Hikaru should do. This bishop is a little bit trapped over here. He's also way behind in development. He needs to get these knights and bishops into the game. And so it turns out that what he had to do here is the move queen e4, hitting the bishop. Now, what black should do here is the move f5, hitting the queen and defending the bishop. And the idea is that white can take on croissant, but you just recapture, hitting the queen, the bishop, and this, and black is completely winning. So after f5, what white had to do is take over here, sacrificing the bishop, give a check, after king here, bishop g5, pinning the knight, and after rook f7, knight d6, and things might not be too bad. You attack the rook, which is a crucial defender of the knight. In the case black takes, then you take, hitting the knight once more, and here, white's doing perfectly fine. But Hikaru did not go for this. Instead, he plays the move bishop to d3, but I'm not a big fan of this one. As now, again, he's just too far behind in development. FIDE plays b5, hitting the knight, knight e3, regains the pawn, and look at the difference in piece activity. White's pieces over here are doing absolutely nothing, and all of black's pieces are in the game. And so, again, this white king over here can come under some serious pressure. Hikaru goes bishop e2, challenging the bishop on g4, but FIDE goes f5. He's like, no, I'm not going back. He's strengthening the bishop. And the idea is that in case white takes, now you recapture, you also get this half-open f-file. And one way or another, you want to get the queen in, maybe knight here, queen h4, and things start to get super dangerous around the right king. So Hikaru played f4, hitting the knight, but FIDE here does not move the knight. He plays the move bishop to b6, double exclam, pinning the knight on e3, and highlighting the problem of this king. Where is this king ever going to go? The problem is, if you take the knight, then there's knight d5, hitting the knight, and the knight is pinned. I mean, black's going to take here. The king will not sit safe on the h-file, as there's always queen h4. And white's getting absolutely crushed here. So Hikaru played king f2, a little bit of bomb cloud action, but doesn't quite work out. Knight d5, bring another piece into the game. And again, look at this position. All of FIDE's pieces are into the game, and these pieces over here are just sleeping on the queen side. So Hikaru played rook h1 check, king g8, now takes the knight. But FIDE goes queen g5, pinning the knight. And there's not much you can do. So Hikaru plays king e1, FIDE took the knight, Hikaru took on g4, recaptures, take. And again, besides the piece activity, also look at the difference in king safety. This king over here on g8 is sitting quite safe, and this king on e1 never has a safe place to hide anymore. So queen e2 was played, queen g3, the king went for a run, rook a8 check, king c1, and now queen to g5, x-raying that king on c1, and there's nothing you can do. If you go knight at d2, there's just knight c4, putting pressure on the pinned piece, and after rook d1, for example, there's rook takes d2, take, and rook d8, and black is absolutely crushing here. So Hikaru played the move b3, trying to run away with his king, but now FIDE went for the very easy knight f1 check, with the idea that after king b2, now there's knight g3, forking the queen and the rook. And so black not only has a crushing attack, but is also going to win material here, which is why Hikaru resigned. So a crushing win for FIDE Gujarati with the black pieces. I mean, who saw this coming? I think nobody really expected this to happen, but you know, this game didn't go Hikaru's way. So he's gonna have to step it up. He's gonna have to do better in the next games. I mean, he showed that he can come back, but it's not going to be easy to fight for first place. that being said, the tournament is far from over. There's still 12 more rounds to go. So we will see how he's going to do in the upcoming rounds. Anyway, I hope all of you guys enjoyed my recap of the second round, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Alright guys, okay. That was the recap. Hello FX Streamer. Well, the thing is, we didn't really consider you to be serious. Thanks, Gypsy. It will be on YouTube. No. It'll be on YouTube shortly. All right, so yeah, hope all of you guys are doing well. Hello everyone on Kick as well. Hello Lajamber. Hello Kramnik is the best. Hello Starting Chess. Hello Cyber Elf El Piso. Good to see all of you guys. Hope you all are doing well. All right. Okay, so let's see. Okay. But yeah, tough loss for Hikaru. I mean, I don't remember the last time he got crushed this badly. I haven't seen it happen in a long time. And yeah, I mean, there's no other way than saying it that this was one of the worst games I've ever seen from him. I analyzed all of the games. I'll upload it shortly. Actually, let me go ahead and upload it right now. It'll be up very, very soon. It's kind of funny. Yesterday's video was 37 minutes and this one as well. All right. Give me just a second. Give me just a second. Video will be up shortly. Thing is, everyone is trying to get their video up as soon as possible. So that's why, you know, we have to hurry up. Oh, what the heck? Yeah, no, great win for FIDE. I mean, you know. Yeah, if you want to get the best, analysis of the candidates, then this is the place to be. I mean, that should be obvious by now. All right. Give me just a second. Just finalizing some things. and the video will be up shortly. But yeah, no, great game for FIDE. And yeah, unfortunate loss for Hikaru. There's no other way to put it. But, you know, he can definitely still come back. But the thing with the candidates is that you have to win, you know? Like in a normal tournament, you might come back to 50%. But again, in the candidates, you have to win. And now he's already a full point behind. So, it's unfortunate. So hopefully hopefully for him, he will manage to come back. But it's not going to be easy. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. Oh, the next... Well, the thing is, FX Streamer... Okay. I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to bet with people I feel like if I cannot take them seriously. If you actually want to bet FX Streamer, then maybe send me a private message or something, and we can figure it out. But yeah. Not necessarily Kuribo. I mean, Hikaru didn't have to take the pawn on e5. The move bishop takes h3 just justifies the sacrifice on e5. But I guess also make sure to follow on Kick. We're trying to push the numbers up on there. And we're also live on YouTube, so feel free to say hi on there as well. But yeah, it was awesome to see that the game between Prag and Gukesh was following my course for the first like 14 moves or so. So feel free to check it out. All right. C6 a novelty? Good question. It might honestly be. I asked Hammer about it. Hammer had not seen that move. It might be a novelty. I mean, it did take Hikaru by surprise. It also surprised me a little bit. No, I don't think Nijat. No. Ah, really? Okay, then I guess it is a novelty, yeah. Oh, wow. Good for him, haha, Hish. Well, the thing is, what you also have to keep in mind is that maybe when Hikaru is covering the candidates on Kick, he might be on front page or something that pushes up his numbers a little bit, stuff like that. So perhaps something like that is at play. But yeah, I mean, crazy day at the candidates. I mean, I did not expect 4 wins, but hey, it did happen. All right, so let's have a little bit of a preview at what's going to happen tomorrow. But I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so let's pull it up. Okay, let's have a look. So pairings. Okay, so tomorrow we will have... Okay, so tomorrow we have Nijat against Hikaru. I'm gonna be honest here. I am not impressed with Hikaru's preparation in this event. First round, he got a worse position against Fabiano. I feel like he should have checked the line a couple moves deeper. In game 2, he didn't really show great preparation against FIDE either. So here's the thing. I'll show you guys. So let's look at the game. Like, where does Hikaru get out of book? Right, so e4 quickly, and out of 3. There should be 5, d3, all of this quickly, c3, Castles, d6. Already a first thing. If 5 minutes feels like quite a bit of time. The move d6 used to be the main move, but it has gone out of fashion. The move d5, which is what Faruja played, is a bit more fashionable. You know, our man Faruja likes fashion. Is more popular these days. So d6 is not as popular anymore, and which is perhaps why Hikaru did not study it as much. So he plays h3 after some thought. Knight e7, d4, again like 5 minutes, but perhaps he might still have looked at this. I don't know. But okay, c6. I mean, here it's already a clear sign that he's out of book. Whereas c6 probably is one of the top moves of the engine. So not a great preparation, in my humble opinion. There should be 3 after some thought, and okay, now he goes for this, which, I don't know, it was kind of insane to me to go for all of these complications. Just, you know, play a quiet game, rook e1, knight b2. But that's the thing. Generally speaking, players only lose with white if they go for some, you know, crazy stuff themselves. If they play, you know, solid chess, then, you know, he normally shouldn't lose. But okay, again, the candidate is a tournament you want to win, so you also want to try to take your chances. But yeah, to me it felt very strange to go into a very sharp and forcing line while your opponent is in their preparation. Yeah, I think Hikaru often makes those comments to take the pressure off himself. I think that's more, you know, what's going on. No, but okay. By the way, make sure to follow on Kick. Hello, little Brandon. Good to see you. Good to see you. Little Brandon is here. Good to see you, little Brando. Give me just a second. What? What is that? What? What? That certainly wasn't the case today, Brandon. Hello, Euphemist. Good to see you. Never heard that nickname, little Brandon. I wonder where you got it.
Hello there.
Hello, little Brandon. How's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
All right. Okay. Well, nice to have you on the stream. We just covered all of the games.
My pleasure, as always.
We just covered all of the games of the candidates, but of course, we're all very curious to hear your insight. Like, what do you think of everything that went on today?
Well, quite frankly, you know,
Taylor Houlihan tipped $300. Congrats on your prize. Here's three United States Benjamins for the best Benjamin in our club, the Prize Fighter Chess Club.
Oh wait, sorry. Thanks, Taylor, for the $300 donation. Yeah, I won some prizes in his events, but everyone feel free to, you know, chip in on the energy we have here. But yeah, no, quite frankly, it wasn't a good game by Hikaru. So Hikaru,
well, honestly, I think he just missed this Queen B8. It's very visually difficult to see, I feel like, but that's kind of bad to miss that. Like, I think he was just kind of feeling the nerves and he got greedy. Like, and he probably figured the way to punish C6 is to grab the pawn and somehow survive. But I mean, based on like his time management and everything, I think he just missed Queen B8 completely. He was probably confused about what Vidit's idea was.
Right, but I feel like Vidit is not the type of guy to go for a dubious pawn sacrifice in the opening. I feel like if he would sacrifice a pawn like that, it is backed up by the engine. So yeah, perhaps, yeah, maybe he did miss Queen B8. Is that what he said in his interview?
I'm not sure.
Right, or yeah, because he did spend a little bit of time after bishop takes h3, while it's like, I mean, of course, it's easy for us to see, but yeah, it's difficult to see what exactly he missed.
Yeah, and maybe he thought that it had some other move here, which was supposed to be correct, and he can try to keep the pawn or something. I don't know. Like maybe he
Right.
assumed white slightly better with some random move for black. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit surprised by his preparation because he goes for this line, and then after move d6 on move 6, which isn't the top move anymore. It's, players play more like d5, like Farouja did today, but it is still a serious main line. And then he spent some time, and c6 took him out of book, where while it is, it's actually a fine move, as I've been told by some experts.
Who are the experts?
I cannot reveal that, but it's a fine move according to the top engines. Like, just as fine as bishop e6. So, a little bit sloppy toppy that he had not looked at that. In my humble opinion.
Sloppy toppy? That's no way to talk about your dad.
Yeah. Just to make it clear, Brandon sometimes refers to Hikaru as, my dad or daddy, but yeah, not my actual dad. All right, but yeah. Okay, anyway. But yeah, I guess. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my silence speaks for itself.
Yeah. No, I think just the thing is that with, of course, someone like Vidit spends a lot more time preparing than Hikaru. So it's not a shock that the opening didn't quite go Hikaru's way, and maybe he should have gone for I was wondering, like, what is he gonna do with the white pieces, and I honestly don't know, but I thought he would do something like, I don't know, knight f3, c4, something to keep more play in the position.
Well, Hikaru is a busy man, he's taking vacation time off from his job to play this dumb chess tournament. Like, he's doing the best he can. You gotta show some respect.
That is true. No, we gotta show some respect. That is true. I mean, Brandon, you have to understand, I've got a real job now. I'm just playing for fun here.
Exactly. I mean, he's taking off how many weeks of work?
Like a month?
Play a board game? To go play a board game?
Yeah. Someone is saying in the chat, Brandon is Hikaru ultra simp. Do you agree with that statement or no?
Well, you see, Hikaru is my legal grandfather, so I wouldn't necessarily call myself a simp, but I will say I'm very, very fond of him and all the lessons he's taught me over the years.
I think we all are, yeah. We're all, grateful for the, back and forth wins and losses. Of course, mostly losses that we've had against him. Someone is saying I don't think he was on a training camp for 6 weeks. I think it was more like a month. And I think in an interview he said 3 weeks. Because the thing is, even when he was doing the training camp, he was still streaming quite a bit, Like Tuesdays, he would do a full day of streaming. Also, like the other days, so... maybe it was just a little bit too much, but I do understand. I guess he's got a nice deal with Kick, and they probably require him to stream a certain amount of hours every month.
Yeah, I mean, he's a busy man. What can I say?
True, he's got to feed his children like you.
He hasn't fed me in years.
Oh damn, you're just trapped in a basement, starving.
He's starved me in the basement, so I just troll on Twitch all day. Benjamin, I'm actually writing. Well, I'm not writing the recap, but I'm doing some annotations on Hikaru's game today for the big L word.
For the big who?
The big L word.
Oh, the big. Lee chess.
Well, you said it, not me.
Yeah, nah. I mean,
I will be doing some annotations on some games if you guys want to check it out.
Oh, nice. All right, so yeah, I mean, definitely a bit of a shocker how Hikaru lost today. To be honest, okay, so the game between Prek and Gukesh, okay, it's of course easier when you're looking with the engine, but when you look on chess.com, I would refer to this as rainbow chess. A lot of mistakes from both sides. Do you think that's the nerves, or do you think the position? I mean, of course, I think it's a bit of both. I think it is nerves, but also the position is very difficult to figure out. But what is your take, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with Gukesh, like, he's normally very, very good at handling nerves. Like, he's literally made of steel. Like, I feel like all of his games go down to the wire. but in like the last moment, he always is able to like maintain his composure. Opponents get kind of shaky. And he's always calculating accurately to the end. But no, I agree with you. I definitely feel like his calculation wasn't as sharp today. He spent a lot of time on moves that. Okay, obviously it's easier for me to sit home and look at the engine, but for example, I thought it was very impractical and a bit strange he didn't take on F7 when he had a few opportunities to do so.
Right.
And then, like,
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's not like he did anything so wrong. I mean, overall, it was a pretty decent game, but it definitely felt like he was a bit shaky. But then he kind of found his footing a little bit later in the game after it kind of got wild. I think he handled himself very well as he got lower on time.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, Gukesh is always very impressive to see how calm and collected he is, and that's definitely a good sign. You know, that's definitely what you need. And what do you make of the time management of like Preg, Gukesh, and also Faruja? Because Faruja got into serious time pressure today. I mean, he was already lost, but at some point he was down to like a couple seconds and still had to make like 10 moves.
I mean, I was saying this before. I think everybody this tournament has been pretty shaky. I mean, there's nobody I'm particularly impressed with, honestly. I mean, like Fabi's been playing solid, but even Fabi, I still feel like he's not playing at his max potential. It's still a little bit shakier than I would expect. So I feel like maybe it's the first few round nerves. I don't know, but definitely everybody is playing shakier than their full potential.
Right, but I did want to say that I feel like Fabiana has been the most convincing so far. I mean, the first game he should have won against Hikaru. He let it slip. In the second game, he does win. So to me, he seems the most stable. Okay, I mean, Gukesh. Well, Gukesh got into trouble yesterday with White. That's not a good sign. In this game, very back and forth. Nepo, very shaky today. Okay, Vidit won. And then who else won? Who I forgot. Who else won today? Or maybe that's it, yeah? Wait, Nepo. Yeah, that's it, kind of. So, okay, Vidit doing okay. I mean, he scores 1.5 out of 2 out of 2 black games. That's, of course, a dream start. But, yeah, right now, I would just put my... Yeah, I would just put my money on Fabiano. I mean, he's been pretty consistent. To be fair, though, he takes down the lowest seed. I mean, it's a game he has to win. Right, with White against the lowest seed in the field.
Mm-hmm. But... I mean, obviously he's been playing solid, but even his game today, like, okay, given how poorly Abasov played, like, feels like he should have won even more convincingly.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, not the smoothest conversion, perhaps. Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like everybody is like a little shakier than usual, which I guess is to be expected. But I guess it'll come down to who actually like finds their footing later in the tournament and doesn't like let the nerves get to them.
Right. Yeah, the good thing for Hikaru is that the tournament is still very long, but you have to keep in mind that you actually have to win the event, right? And now he's already a full point behind 4 people. So...
Well, I mean, it's been 2 rounds. Anything can happen still.
True. But I do think he... Okay, so what do you think about tomorrow's game? Tomorrow he has the black piece against Nijat. Do you consider that a must-win game? How do you... I mean, he's definitely going to go for it, but how do you view that one?
I mean... No games are must-win games by round 3. I mean, this is a very long tournament. Like,
yeah,
he can even be within, as long as he's within a point, it'll go into the last few rounds. I mean, everybody's in good contention. I feel like. I mean, obviously, he's going to try to play for a win. That's for sure. But I mean, I don't think it's a must-win. I think for himself, it's probably a must-win, but not for like the tournament situation.
Right. No, yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so yeah, I do think he's going to try. I'm curious to see how he's going to do so, though. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit too early to burn all ships. I mean, if you lose another game, then it's looking really tough. But I think if he does win this game, then, you know, he's cool. He's fully back, unless someone really starts running away. And then we have, okay, we have Faruja against Fabiano. I would predict a draw there. Or do you think Faruja is going to go a little too crazy? And we have Gukesh against Nepo. I predict a draw. Nepo very well prepared. I don't think Gukesh is going to do anything too crazy. And then Vidit against Preg. I think just a draw. Like, today wasn't vintage Preg. Normally Preg is very solid, and today he went for this crazy line, which honestly is not quite his style, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go ahead and take it away. What is your take on these other 3 games?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like you said, I don't think anybody's really going to take the tournament away. And based on what I've seen so far, everybody's kind of shaky, and we'll see more as the tournament goes on. But for now, I mean, I do think Hikaru can. I think like how the opening goes in Hikaru's game will be very telling to see what kind of mood he's in. Because I feel like if he can get that fire back for tomorrow and refreshed, like he can definitely take it away. So that'll be interesting. Alireza against Fabi, it'll be interesting to see. I feel like Alireza knows it's a long tournament though, so I mean, again, it's round 3, doesn't need to take any big risks. So I agree with you. It'll probably end in a draw. Gukesh against Jan. I think like it's hard to say because they're both super combative players in general, but obviously the tournament situation so far is good for them. But again, I think it'll kind of depend on what kind of move Gukesh is in and if he tries to play something crazy again. Because like I don't know, it's against Vidit, like I guess Vidit has a small chance, but like that was kind of right out of the opening too. I mean, he's playing he's playing true to his style this tournament, which I respect, and it's been working for him, so may as well stick to it. But I think it'll mostly come down to the opening there because again, like if I feel like if Gukesh just plays something pretty normal, it'll most likely end in a boring draw because he is so well prepared. But and then Vidit against Prague. I mean, again, kind of the same thing, but that one, it seems like Vidit's been very, very well prepared so far. So, like, again, it'll kind of depend on the opening, but I feel like Vidit will probably push because, I mean, he
does have white,
He has white, and he just got Hikaru out of the way. Like, I feel like now he's probably feeling, like, pumped up, and now's a good time to play something a bit riskier. So that will definitely be an interesting clash, and I think it's going to be a very fighting game. And even Prague himself probably won't try to just suffer for another 5 hours after this brutal loss today. So.
Okay, so if we translate that into scores, then I guess I'll just go first. Nijat is really solid. He's just tough to beat. So I'm gonna say Nijat Hikaru draw. Also, I don't know if Hikaru has got the weapons necessarily to take controlled risks against Nijat. So I predict a draw. I say Firouzja Fabiano draw, Gukesh Nepo draw, and Vidit Prague draw. What do you? Very, very hot takes here. I know. What is your prediction? You predict to win somewhere?
I'm gonna believe in my dad for tomorrow. I think he has what it takes, and I think like going into the tournament, he obviously had some weapons for must-win games, and like I think now is the time to try it. I mean, he'll want to show he belongs in this tournament, that he's still in it to win. So, and I know he is very good at like coming back from losses because he somehow that always channels his biggest strength whenever he's angry. So we all know that he can perform much better under a lot of pressure. But I'm with you on the rest of the games. Like, I think Vidit's game against Prague will be an interesting game. I predict 2 boring draws in the other 2. I think Vidit's game will be interesting, but I agree with you. It'll probably end in a draw as well.
All right. Okay, so you predict a win for Hikaru and draws in the other games?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I'm curious to see how Hikaru is going to try to come back. And let's say you're Nijat, right? I mean, you play Hikaru, you know he's going to go for it. Do you play extra solid? Do you try to shut it down? Do you well, I guess if you play in the candidates, you don't want to play shamelessly for a draw. You just want to try to play for a win, but play solid, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I don't think he's really going to change his strategy too much. I think he's just going to play his game, and if he gets chances, he gets chances. But I don't think it's round 3, so I don't think anybody's going to do anything crazy to complicate things.
All right, interesting. Yeah, no, I'm curious to see what especially how Hikaru is going to approach the game. Like, do you think he's going to play some sort of King's Indian? Do you think he's gonna play something more like the Nimzo?
Well, I think he's not gonna like go crazy, but I think he's gonna play something that at least leaves white the option to play something more interesting. Like, I mean, you can't force something interesting with black, of course, if your opponent wants to play boring, but I think I'll try to play something a little bit more interesting and leave pieces on the board. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to go all out with something super risky.
Right, so let's translate that into concrete moves. Let's say Nijat goes d4. That's what he's been playing this tournament. Here's the thing. You know, let's say we're Hikaru's team, we're his seconds. We're playing Nijat tomorrow, right?
Okay.
So Nijat opens up with d4. What are we gonna do?
Well, yeah. So let's say he plays something normal like d4, knight f6.
Sorry, d4. Okay, c4.
Yeah, e6.
Okay. Okay, in the first round, Nijat here, by the way, played the move knight c3 against Nepo. And Nepo played d5, going into the Queen's Gambit decline, declining the Nimzo. You think he will go into the Nimzo? I mean, in the Nimzo, you can experiment a little bit. You can, you know...
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what he wants to go for, but...
Right, it's also...
like, he's going to play a line that doesn't try to kill the game, for sure. And, like...
Yeah.
Beyond that, okay, if his opponent wants to play boring, then so be it, but... I think he's going to, give Nijat all the chances to fight if he wants to.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good strategy. Yeah. Like, not go completely crazy, but be like, you know, Nijat, I mean, come on, dude, you also gotta fight a little bit. Yeah. And then Nijat probably will take up the challenge, and then, yeah, he should get some chances, because, you know, he is outrating him by, like, 160 points.
Yep. Also, yeah, they played recently in the Bundesliga, which has probably helped his confidence, where he was like completely lost.
Oh yeah, I mean, that game might give him the confidence to be like, yo, I can pretty much do
whatever.
Yeah, I can pretty much do whatever I want, and I can still come back. I mean, that position. I was doing commentary on his channel. I said that there's a less than 1% chance that he would win, and he won. Like, no, but I mean, like, I thought, okay, he's never gonna win this. I was even thinking, you know, he's just gonna lose. Because it looked that bad. It was like +2 for white out of the opening.
I mean, that's what he does. You should know that by now.
Yep, I know. What do you so you think he's gonna play something more like the Nimzo? You don't think the King's Indian?
I mean, yeah, I don't think he's gonna go for it. It's unlikely.
All right. Yeah, I remember the last time I saw him playing the King's Indian was against Greg Oparin in the FIDE Grand Prix, and that backfired miserably. He was lost after like 15 moves.
But I mean, that's just what Hikaru does, right? Like, he doesn't care when he's lost. He just keeps playing as if he's better, and then puts all the pressure on his opponent.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Wait, what is your question, Mr. Hype Man? You're saying Grishuk? What is the question about? Grishuk? Yeah, Grishuk sometimes plays the King's Indian, yeah. Yeah, no, good question, Sherlock. Alright. But yeah, I guess maybe something like the Nimzo keeps more play. And then, hey, against Knight of 3, maybe the Queen's Indian? Or do you think he's going to do something like the Benoni, like Richard?
No. I think it's, probably something like the Queen's Indian, or some way of just playing a game and keeping some pieces on the board.
Right, because the thing also with the Benoni is that there's so many critical tries that white has, and you have to know all of them. And even there's probably ways for white to shut it down a little bit. Go for some forcing line that you have to know, and then make a draw.
Wait, sorry, give me 1 second.
Oh no, I was saying that. Yeah, well, short. Long story short, I don't see him playing the Benoni either. So in the Bundesliga, he played this Queen's Gambit declined with a very early a6. I don't see him repeating that, first of all, because, well, here's the thing. He definitely wants to surprise Nijat, right? I mean...
Wait, sorry. Just give me like 1 second.
Okay, take your time.
I will let you know 1 second. I have to handle some important business.
Okay.
All right,
you're
sorry.
Talking to a girl again. Yeah, but I was just saying...
Obviously.
He played this against Nijat and against Bluebaum in the Bundesliga.
Yeah,
I think... I don't see him repeating that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, what is so many ways of getting a very safe slight edge? Like, even like Knight B2 is a move, Bishop G5, and there are a lot of ways of just playing some zero risk position for white.
Yeah. No, I don't see him doing that. It didn't quite work out. I mean, it didn't work out at all against Nijat and didn't work out against Bluebaum. And the surprise value is gone. And like you said, I mean, what are you hoping for, right? It's almost impossible to...
Yeah.
Like, how are you ever going to get better with black? But I guess, like you said, I mean, just has to find a way to keep pieces on the board, keep playing the position. And, you know, then he should have chances as he is the better player.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I mean, the thing is, this kind of reminds me of why I quit chess. Like, it's pretty funny. Like, I was watching the game before. I was watching Prague play against Gukesh in their time scramble. But they're both shaking. I'm literally at home, doing nothing, sitting around, like, completely, like, hermiting in my own bed. And I'm watching their game, and I'm just, like, shaking watching. And then I'm thinking about, like, them having to be there and the candidates playing at age, what are they, like, 16, 17? And then I'm thinking about all the times that I was playing chess. And then it reminded me, you know what? This is why this chess is such a terrible game. This is why I sit at home instead.
Yeah, no, I do get what you're saying. Yeah, it is stressful. Yeah, especially, you know, the... So what do you think? Do you think... Oh, wait, sorry. I was just going to say... when you play. So do you think it gets more stressful the better you get, the more stakes you play?
Well, so the thing is, for me, there's something interesting. So my nerves are inversely proportional to how important the game is. So for me, I mean, the thing is right now, like, okay, I'm going to take off from chess until I fix my nerves, because it's basically making me play terribly and making every tournament miserable. So until I can, like, fix my nerves, then I'm not coming back for a while. But the thing is, for me in the past, it's always been the opposite, where it's almost like for high pressure games, I expect myself to get nervous. So I'm kind of more like open to it and embracing it. I'm like, all right, let's go. I know I'm nervous, but it's like pumping me up. And like, somehow it's because I'm anticipating the fact that I'm going to be nervous. It kind of like takes the pressure off me, because I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to be nervous and probably play worse. Like, so I don't have the expectation as much for a high pressure game. But it's actually for like the random games that I feel like, okay, well now, like, I'm halfway through a tournament, like I should be beating this guy, like, and I have all these expectations about how the game should go and how I should win smoothly and I'm better than this guy. And it just makes the tournament experience much worse. So, I mean, I guess it depends from person to person, but like, it also depends on your personality, right? Like, I'm naturally like a very shaky person, which I'm trying to work on. But like, if we look at Gukesh, for example, I don't think anything like rattles him, no matter what. Like, he could literally be sitting there in like a hurricane with his roof being blown off his head and like just sit there and keep studying chess. Like, look at the man. Like, so I think it varies from person to person, but especially for somebody his age, I mean, this is their first time playing a candidate, so of course it's another added level of pressure. So especially if they make it to contending for first, like later in the tournament, him in Prague, let's say, it'll be good to see like how they handle themselves. But I also imagine that's probably a big part of their training too, going to the tournament, being able to just stay present and focused and not let the situation get to them.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely, I think that's a very important part of chess. I mean, it's not only, of course, like talent and hard work, but also, of course, how you deal with the nerves. And I think that's what makes Gukesh such a top contender. So here's the thing. Magnus always says, you know, like, oh, he would only come back to the World Championship if he has a challenge. I mean, he was hoping for Fallujah. He thought that would be interesting. I mean, Gukesh, if you look at his trajectory, I mean, he's clearly still got holes in his game, but he's only 17 years old and he's 2750. Do you see him playing for the World Championship in a couple of years? And if so, do you see Magnus coming back and potentially playing him in a match?
So, in terms of Magnus, I think Magnus is just having fun now, which is deserved. I don't think there's anything that somebody can do to make Magnus play the World Championship match again, unless I see what you mean about Gukesh, but I feel like he needs to sincerely believe that this contender could possibly be better than him. Then I think maybe he would be willing to play a match under the right circumstances. But if it's just a match for the sake of playing a match against somebody new, I don't think he'll want to invest that much time preparing just to prove that he's still the best. Like, I don't know. The man has worked so hard. I think he deserves some rest from the World Championship cycle. But yeah, no, about Gukesh, it's very interesting because, like, I like that he's very, like, true to his style, because I feel like a lot of these youngsters, they get higher rated and they kind of, like, switch styles and they play more, like, boring and professional, quote unquote. But yeah, I mean, Gukesh just always relies on his calculation ability and trusts that no matter what the computer evaluation is through the complications, he's always going to calculate better than his opponent, which is true. I mean, it works out for him most of the time. So it's a very interesting style, and obviously it backfires sometimes if he's not as sharp on whatever day. But no, yeah, definitely has a lot of room for improvement, and I think it'll be interesting to see how his style progresses as he gets older. Like, will he try to become a little bit more, like, conservative with his opening choices and his style, or will he still go on, like, fighting every single game? So it'll be interesting to see.
All right. Yeah. No, definitely. All right. So
yeah. So your hype man says that Magnus doesn't think of as highly of Gukesh as he thinks of Prague. Well, the thing is, I mean, they're very, very different styles, right? Like, Prague, like, he's just very conventionally good. Like, he's just I can't think of any weaknesses he has. He's just a very well-rounded player. He plays all different types of positions. Generally, yeah, I'd say he's probably a bit more positional, but he's very, like, versatile. But Gukesh is basically unmatched in what he does. So
right.
I think that's a skill in its own. And yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of relates to his weaknesses and how that'll change, like, as he becomes a stronger player.
Yeah. All right. So, like, okay, we talked a little bit about round number 3. I mean, of course, the tournament's still very long. Well, let's have a look, right? I mean, FIDE obviously has a good start. I mean, he beat Hikaru with black, and okay, draw against Gukesh. That's a fine result.
But you know, Benjamin, like, it's kind of sad almost to see how Hikaru just kind of self-destructed today. Like, it's like, I don't know, like, he very clearly just did it to himself. That right. Like, not to take
very
away
unnecessary.
Yeah, like, it's almost like FIDE didn't have to play a game yesterday or today, and he got free 1.5 points with double black. Like,
it could have been even, I mean, like 2 out of 2.
Right, and looking at the game, like, Benjamin, like, you or me, if we had the preparation down the position on the opening, like, we could have easily, like, won the same way. Because the thing is, like, all of his moves were so natural too. There were no, like, there was basically not a single, like, tough decision for him the entire game. It kind of just played itself.
Yeah, the game played and spoke for itself.
Yeah. Yep.
No, but yeah, in all seriousness, yeah, no, like I said, he really did it to himself. Like, feels very unnecessary to lose like that. But of course, I understand, with why you do want to win, and then maybe you take some risks, and that's, when things backfire. And of course, also, you have to give credit to FIDE, right? He's so well prepared everywhere.
Yeah,
that
of course, yeah.
That's when things like these happen, that your opponents do go a little crazy.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, so yeah, for Hikaru, I mean, okay, it would be great if he can somehow. Here's the thing: if he beats Nija tomorrow, after that he has another white game. I mean, against Prague, another player that is probably better prepared than him. Like, the thing for me is, here's the thing with the candidates. I mean, you need to score something like at least 9 points, maybe like 9.5, whatever it is. He's gonna have to win a lot of these games. Right, like you have what is it? 7 games with white. You need to score, right now he needs to score like +4, +5 with white. And I don't think it's going to be that easy for him to out-prepare these guys and get advantages from the opening. So how do you see him doing it?
Well, the thing is that's the thing about Hikaru. Like, his style doesn't require him to get a good position out of the opening. Like, for me, like, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of the opposite of me, where, like, when I win games, I like to keep it in my control, be slightly better at the opening, and kind of just keep pushing it all the way. But for him, I mean, the way he wins games is kind of unbelievable, where, like, he can just kind of create something out of any position. So I feel like as long as he gets one of his kind of positions where even if it's dead equal and there's some pieces on the board, like, he always creates chances out of thin air. So
True. Yep. No, I agree.
I feel like with white, I mean, obviously today was an exception, but in general, if his opponent isn't playing something too forcing, that's smart. But the more I think about it, the more I realize, like, how smart FIDE's opening choice was against Hikaru, because again, like, he doesn't have to go C6 or he can just play some normal position and then they play chess. But even if it's like slightly dubious to go C6, I mean, obviously on high depth, I'm sure it's all a draw anyway. But you know, to sack the pawn like this and kind of like just go for the forcing line to try to make a draw, that kind of like understandably scared Hikaru a little bit, like figuring that, okay, if I take whatever, take on C5, it'll probably lead to a boring draw if he doesn't play 100% accurately. So I think it was kind of smart to sort of force Hikaru's hand and to win away today. Whereas like another player might have just been happy taking on C5, taking on D6, playing a pawn up, playing a 2-result game, and okay, if they make a draw, they make a draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's very weird, because normally you would think like, okay, FIDE's blitzing out all of these moves, don't take the pawn on E5, but you know, he did, and yeah, it just completely backfired. So yeah, it was very uncharacteristic, because like you said, just keep playing the position, and then, you know, there's always going to be chances, because he should be the better player than FIDE, because like you said, he doesn't normally win games out of the opening. He wins games by keeping the game going, you know, and then figuring out some way to open his opponent up later on. So yeah,
well, he's very good at opening people up.
Exactly. So very uncharacteristic of him how he lost this one.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Euphemus, good question, but yeah, tomorrow he's playing with the black piece against Nijat, so that's going to be his main focus for now. I mean, I don't think he's going to play anything too aggressive, because I think, as we discussed, he doesn't quite have the weapons, so to speak. I don't think he really has like a must-win opening for black ready. So I think he's going to do something a little bit more solid, but still, of course, he will try to keep playing the position.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm curious to hear what Hikaru said in his recap, but yeah. Anyway, we do appreciate your insights, Brandon. Okay, so right now, I mean, for me, I feel like Fabiano is the favorite. I mean, I feel like he's got the best preparation. Do you? I mean, Nepo, of course. I mean, Nepo got a good start. When Nepo gets a good start, he's very dangerous in the tournament. Do you see who do you see fighting for first right now?
It's so soon to tell. Like I said, they're all kind of shaky, but I think Fabi is always going to be the safe bet. I mean, he knows what it's like. He knows how to handle the nerves. He's just always kind of stable for the most part. And yeah, right. I mean, like, for somebody to pass him, like, they're going to need a super run, amazing run. And whether that's Dukesh or I don't know who, but I think the odds are in Fabi's favor.
Right. Yep. And then
because there's so many little things that go into it. Like, for example, game strategy. Let's say it's the second to last round, and you know he's half point behind first. Like, he just has so much experience with these kinds of tough opening decisions, psychological decisions, how to handle the nerves. Like, I feel like that could be very tough to handle for one of the youngsters. So, unless Hikaru makes a massive comeback, which is possible, but I think for now we have to say give Fabi the favorite.
Yeah, Fabi should be the favorite. I mean, he's the rating favorite. He's been many times in the candidates. He's also won it in 2018. And yeah, maybe for those youngsters, maybe later on in the tournament, they will get nervous. And Fabiano should also be the best player in the field with the best preparation. All right. Okay, and I was also going to ask you, what do you think the winning score will be?
That's interesting. I actually don't think it'll be that high. I don't think it'll be like Nepo running away the last 2 times. I think it'll be very close.
Really? Okay,
because I don't get the impression anybody's in particularly good form right now. I mean, the games are so close for the most part. Like, I can't really imagine anybody running away with it. Although I can imagine a certain player running away in the opposite direction, but there's nobody who I feel like is.
You feel like maybe
right now.
You feel like maybe Abbasov, like he could be in for a rough tournament.
I mean, so far he's living up to the expectations. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and it's not been an easy tournament for him, obviously. I mean, yesterday, yeah, he made a draw with White against Nepo, but today, yeah, tough loss. Yeah, and of course, obviously, every round's going to be difficult.
But what's interesting, like, so it feels like you have to take risks, but you know, it's funny. Like, okay, when I played in the U.S. Junior Championship last summer, so this was like round 4. Wait, it was round 5, and you know, I was like, okay, like tied for first. Obviously, more than half tournament left. Like, anything could happen. But somehow I felt like, you know what, now is my time to pounce. So I black, and I got my preparation totally equalized, up an hour on the clock. And I felt like, you know what, this is my time to kind of take some risk and go for the win, because now is my chance to get the tournament away. I have some tough pairings at the end, so I should really take my chances now. So in a totally equal-ish position, I decided to go crazy and overpress and lose. And of course, in the end of the tournament, I missed out at first by half point. So it's always a tricky thing. You never know when to take risks in these kinds of situations. Like, a lot of times you feel like you need to go all out, and then you don't.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I do honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if Fabiano puts up a big score, like 9.5 out of 14 or 10, something like that, and runs away with it. He has been winning some of the super tournaments, like the, for example, the Sinkfield Cup. So who knows, right? But yeah, we'll see what's gonna happen. And I wanted to ask you another question, but I already forgot. Maybe it's about something someone said. Oh yes, who do you think Hikaru is having as his seconds right now? I mean, I think probably Lil Jon, Hushenbeith, and Shankland. Do you think those 3, or do you think more seconds? And I don't think I'm leaking anything here. I think that's pretty common knowledge. What do you think, Lil Brandon? Wait, did Brandon leave? Okay, Brandon is not with us anymore, unfortunately. Hello, Chancellor. Yeah, no, definitely some crazy games today, yeah. Oh, okay. All right. It's okay, Brandon. Well, we appreciate you joining the conversation. It was definitely interesting to hear your insights. And yeah, we'll see how the tournament will play out in the next couple of rounds. Hikaru's interview? Do you mean interview or recap? I can watch this if you want to.
Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the second round here of the FIDE Candidates Tournament being held in Toronto, Canada. Now, in the second round, I was playing with the white piece against FIDE, Santosh Gujarati from India, one of the players who qualified alongside myself in the Grand Swiss in Isle of Man. So without further ado, let's jump right into the action. So the game starts with e4, FIDE plays e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to b5, and now we get to move knight to f6. Now, this, of course, is the classic Berlin defense, which has been played a lot, prominently by the former world chess champion Vladimir Kramnik when he defeated the greatest player, I was about to say the greatest player of all time, but one of the greatest players of all time, Garry Kasparov, in the match in, I believe, 2000. So Berlin defense has been a top-level opening for the last 20 years, played by many great players, including myself, so it's not really a huge surprise. So here I decided to play move d3. Now, of course, in many games between myself and Wesley So in the past, we've actually played a forced draw with castles, knight takes e4, d4, knight d6, takes a4, knight d4, swap the knights, d6, takes, queen e4, queen e6, queen d4, queen d6, with the game ending in a draw. Now, obviously, in a tournament like the Candidates, you don't want to make quick draws. Of course, it's not really a huge surprise in the opening either, so the game continues. So here I play the move d3, FIDE goes bishop to c5, and now I play the move c3. Now, white could try to castle here, but one of the drawbacks is that black can play this move knight to d4, trying to swap off a pair of forces or win this bishop on b5. So for example, if you move the bishop, black can trade the knights and play d6, and generally this is considered to be very, very stable, and white is not better. So that's why in the game I play the move c3, stopping the knight from jumping to this d4 square as I cover it with the pawn. FIDE plays the move castles, and now I decide to castle, and here FIDE plays the move d6. Now, this move is not a pure surprise. FIDE normally plays this move pawn to d5, but after d6, I actually started thinking here for a little bit as I simply was unsure of which line to play. Now, two moves I was considering during the game were knight bd2 or this move h3. Now, both moves are playable, but at the end of the day, I decided to play h3. So after h3, FIDE plays knight to e7, I go d4, attacking the bishop on c5, and now he plays this move c6. Now this already was a slight surprise to me. Normally here black moves the bishop back to b6, but FIDE goes c6 instead. Now on first glance, you're probably thinking, well, white can take the bishop, black takes the bishop, take this pawn, but after knight to g6, even though white is temporarily up this pawn on d6, the pawn on e4 is currently under attack, and down the road, let's say I play like queen to d3, bishop to d7 here, black intends to play moves like rook c8, queen b6, and rook c6, and on top of that, my opponent FIDE Gujarati was already moving very, very quickly, or not already, I should say, still was moving very, very quickly at this point in the game, and this is one of the big differences between a tournament like the Candidates and just a regular strong top-level tournament, where the players have months to prepare ahead of time. Now because of that, players are going to be very well prepared, and they're not simply going to make a blunder on move 8. So c6 is played, I decide to play the move bishop d3 because I trust that FIDE's preparation is there, and I want to keep the game going. So here the bishop on d3 guards the pawn on e4 from being captured, and now FIDE goes bishop b6. Now again, this is all very, very surprising to me because at the board, you'll notice I had an hour 41 on the clock, and I used over 20 minutes before deciding to take this pawn on e5. Now it's a very, very tough decision for me here because there were a couple things going through my mind. First of all, I can go for the principal approach like I did in the game of capturing the pawn, but I can also be
why is he currently making videos when he's playing the tournament? Well, because he wants to keep his YouTube grind going, you know? I mean, he always says, like, content is king, stuff like that, so that's why he's making videos. Too fast? I mean, you have to pay attention, Sherlock.
very solid here with move like rook to e1, knight g6, knight bd2. Let's say black goes rook e8, and now you can play something like knight f1 or bishop c2. Now, objectively, white is not better here, but you keep all.
But it's definitely a very interesting decision. Most players would not do this. They would not want to give away information. They also wouldn't want to spend more energy outside of games. So, right, but the recaps are gonna get the most views now, you know?
On the board, and this remains a very, very slow, very, very positional game.
Right, but
in the classic Gucci.
If you want to see the best recaps of all of the games, check out my video. Yeah, the YouTube algorithm is... Yeah, exactly. Check out my videos. Leave a like, leave a comment. Come on. Just leave a like, leave a comment right now. Get in there. Get me back on the algorithm. Come on, do it. Do it!
Piano. But after using a lot of time here, I decided to go for the principal approach by taking the pawn on e5, taking on e5, and now FIDE played bishop h3. Now after bishop to h3, I played this move knight c4. This was the start of, I don't want to really use it to say copium, where I'm trying to like make excuses for like not finding moves, but this was the start of many decisions I made in this game where I looked at one line and then for whatever reason I made a completely different decision during the game. Now the reason I say that is because I used 20 minutes before going through this variation, and I actually expected bishop takes h3. Now originally I was going to take it after queen d8. I thought that there's this move bishop to f4 guarding the knight. If I move my knight away, for example, black is actually better after this move queen g3, checking the king on g1, king h1.
I mean, I do understand, yeah, what you're saying, Chess Lover. But yeah, so most players wouldn't do this, but he decides to do this. But of course, that's his. I mean, I guess he feels like he can manage all of it.
Takes, and after knight h2, rook d8. Maybe black's not better. Maybe black's actually just outright winning here. But at any rate, it's not good for white. So when I was calculating this whole knight takes e5 line, I saw this bishop with queen d8, and I knew that in this position I could go bishop to f4, and after bishop c7 here, there were a couple options. I could play bishop g3, where the computer actually gives white a very small advantage. After takes, f4, bishop c7, and queen to f3, since white has the two b's and a little bit of space in the center of the pawns on e4 and f4. Now, of course, FIDE was very well prepared, so probably would not have gotten any advantage even if I played this in the game, but this was one of the interesting possibilities. Now, as a sign of how off-sort my calculation everything was, I also thought I could potentially play bishop g5 here, because after takes, f4, and h6, I thought the game would end in a draw with takes, queen g3, king h1, takes, king g1, and a repetition. But the computer actually says that after queen g3, king h1, and rook f8, black's in fact a little bit better here, maybe not winning, but black has everything to play for. But in spite of calculating these lines while I was anticipating d5 takes, knight e5, bishop h3, at the board I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go knight c4 and get the bishop pair and try to keep the game going. Now pretty much as soon as I played this move, I realized this was not the best move because of what FIDE did in the game with this move bishop g4. Now here I played this move queen c2, which was also, by the way, not my first choice. Initially I was going to play bishop e2, but fortunately in the nick of time I spotted that this is actually a blunder before playing. I thought during the game that after the trade, takes, knight takes e4, that I was actually possibly winning here because after takes, and rook e1, both of these knights are under pressure. You move the knight away, I win the knight on e7, and with it I win the game. If black goes f5, there's f3 to force the knight away. So I thought for a second this was actually very simple for me. I get to an endgame here and I'm completely fine. But as I realized, after knight takes e4, takes, and rook e1, black has a very nasty move knight to c5, sacking the horse on e7, but then playing this move knight to b3, attacking the rook in the corner. In this bishop black, I guess it's not actually winning here. Computer only gives white a slightly worse position, which actually is a little bit disturbing. I guess there's rook to e1, takes a knight to a3 here with the bishop moving to e3 down the road. Maybe the show goes on. But what I saw was takes, and now I lose either the knight on b1 or the bishop on c1. So I spotted this in the nick of time, which meant that I then played the move queen c2. But already the problem with the way the game is going is I'm already down a lot of time on the clock. Right? Only have an hour. We're on move number 13. There's no increment, so I know I have to speed up, and I know that I've missed quite a bit already. First of all, I didn't play the line I intended to with bishop f4. I overlooked this tactic with this knight takes e4, knight c5. So already here I was feeling quite shaky. So FIDE goes bishop c7 after a very, very long thing. I don't even know if this is the best move. I was actually expecting to go knight g6, and after takes, computer still gives black quite a bit of an advantage due to the lack of the development of the white pieces on the queen side. So FIDE plays bishop c7 after a long thing, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, FIDE has used all this time to get the time back, or he's used over half an hour. Time is even, it's back to playing a game. So I play e5 very quickly, trying to attack the knight on f6 here and win this pawn on h7. FIDE goes knight d7, I take on h7, he plays king h8, and now I play this move bishop to d3 after a long thing. Now this is the second example of where I have a thought in my mind and I go for something else. Initially, I told myself that I was either gonna look at wise for a couple of minutes or play bishop d3 right away. So what happens? I end up spending 20 minutes and not trusting my instinct. Now, two moves I considered here were bishop to g5 or this move queen to e4.
Paspawn says, I never see the point of watching a video on fast speed like this because, well, I wanna hear what he has to say, but I don't want to spend twice as much on it. But I do understand that I guess for most people this is just way too fast.
Now, first glance, it looks like queen to e4 loses the game because after f5 attacking the queen, suddenly the coordination between the queen and the bishop is off, and the pawn guards the bishop on g4. Now, I do not play end peasant with pawn takes pawn because after knight takes pawn, knight guards the bishop, hits the queen and the bishop on h7 at the same time, and with it, I lose the game. But there's a knight sacrifice with bishop takes pawn, takes queen to h4, king g8, and now after bishop g5, rook f7, and knight to d6, the game is wildly.
I don't feel like there's really something I'm learning. I'm just more curious to hear, like, where did he miss stuff, you know, why did he go for certain decisions? For example, yeah, this line right here, did he consider that or no?
Out of control here. I've got this massive pin on the knight on e7 with the bishop and the queen. The rook's under attack. If you take the knight, I take back, and now I win some material. And if black plays with knight takes e5, computer says after bishop e7, takes, rook f7, takes, and I guess knight d4. Probably black is still better, but white is very much in
Yeah, like, why did he not go for this? I don't know. Maybe he didn't. I wonder if he didn't see the line or something.
the game. Now, I did consider this, but then I think I overlooked something along the lines of takes, and I think I thought that after bishop g5, get some knight g6, takes, bishop c7, and bishop d3 type idea. At this point, it's been more than hours of the game, so I'm a little bit lost in my thoughts, but something along these lines I saw, and so I did play it. Now, the other line that I considered as well was to play this move bishop to g5, which also looks quite tricky, but ultimately I rejected this move, because if black were to play a move like, let's say, g6, for example, now queen to e4 is extremely strong, because after bishop to h5, queen to h4, the same idea of pinning the tail on the donkey probably wins the game for white. But black does have this move f6 attacking the bishop, and after takes, if I move the bishop to, let's say, h6, for example, after f5, bishop takes f8, queen takes f8, computer still doesn't say that white's completely lost, but with this activity of the bishops here, the queen coming into the game as well, and the knight and the rook on b1 and a1 not active, it just feels really, really bad. So after all this time thinking, I basically said, you know what, I'm gonna play bishop d3 instead, because I know I'm not gonna lose the game on the spot here, or so I thought, and the show goes on. Now for bishop d3, FIDE played this move b5 after a bit of a thing, and this move kind of surprised me. I thought that FIDE would actually trade on e5 here, and after rook e1, bishop c7 with ideas like queen e6, I felt that black should be better. Now how much better remains unclear, but with this rook, knight, and bishop underdeveloped, it feels like black has better chances. So FIDE instead goes b5, which I thought was dubious at the time. I played knight e3, knight takes e5, and now I played this move bishop to e2. Now it's another example of where you notice from my move, I played this move in 4 seconds, and this was simply my brain stopped working yet again. When I calculated bishop d3, b5 before playing this move bishop to d3, my intention was to play this endgame with takes, queen d3, takes, and now something like a4 here, and after say bishop b6, not bishop b6, sorry, after f5, knight h2, something like bishop b6, black is definitely better, white is underdeveloped on the queen side, but maybe there's some chance to save the game down the road. But instead, I use all 4 seconds here, and now I play this move bishop e2. And once again, I'm simply at a loss for words in terms of why I did this move. Now, the other thing is when I mentioned knight takes g4 after the game, FIDE said that he was going to play knight takes knight and not queen takes bishop, which makes this decision even worse on some level. Because after takes and queen to e2, f5 here, maybe white is still okay with ideas like g3 and king g2. Objectively, black remains quite a bit better, but it feels like there are some chances. Instead, I play bishop e2, and after FIDE now finds this very nice move f5, I would say that for a computer, maybe it could still save this game, but from a human perspective, it's very, very close to loss. Now, the reason for that is that the rook is very active here. I'm lacking in development. These 3 pieces still are not in the game, so I go knight to a3. Sample line would be queen to e8 with the idea of queen to h5, and all of a sudden, they're massive checkmating for us on the h file. Black can play for f4 and f3 as well, and as you can see from the bar, the game is just not going my way. So after f5, I played this move f4, and again, not trying to sort of make excuses or try to make this something weird, but when I played f4, I simply did not see FIDE's next move, which was bishop b6, which in my opinion just wins on the spot. I thought here I was only slightly worse after he trades the bishops and plays something like knight to d3, and I go g3, bishop b6, and something like king g2. Now the great part about this, and this is actually why I'm starting to laugh a little bit, is this is also another sign of how poorly I was sort of calculating how everything was not working today, because even here I thought it might be a little bit worse, but the computer says after knight to d5, it's simply -2 and black is completely winning. So FIDE does not go for that. He plays bishop b6, which was actually, I thought, it was a move I didn't see, and I think it effectively ends the game on the spot, and the reason is quite simple. If I take this free force on e5, there's knight to d5, this knight on e3 is pinned here, and just to give some sample lines, say I play a move like bishop g4, there's knight e3, takes, king h2, not queen to h4 check, because then I can block with the bishop here, but after takes, I'm lacking in development on the queen side, the rook and the knight are not in the game. If I move my knight to a3 after queen f4, if I go king h1, there's queen h6 with checkmate, and if I play g3, same thing, check, king g2, and queen to h3 is also checkmate as well, as my king on g2 simply has no squares available. So after a long thing here, I decided to have some fun and play this very funny looking move king to f2. Now, of course, king f2 is effectively the same thing as a resignation, but I didn't see a better move, and I thought it'd be kind of funny to try and bring the king to the center, and maybe, just maybe, I can play a bomb cloud. So after king f2,
I knew that's why he played king f2, to be like, oh, I played the bomb cloud in the candidates, you know? But, you know, okay. Like I said, every move was losing. But I knew that's why he played it.
At this point, there are many ways for black. Knight d5 isn't the only way, but it's probably the most effective. Play rook to h1 check, and here FIDE goes king g8, and now I decide to take the horse. Now, temporarily, I'm up a horse on e3, but with this pin in play here and queen g5 being played, black's forces are simply overwhelming, and yet again, I have a rook, a knight, and a bishop.
G-Photo says, I feel like this is the Matrix downloading into my head. I'm curious to hear what the hype man has to say about that. He probably says, G-Photos, you're stuck in the Matrix.
Which is simply not move the entire game. Again, people at home, do not try and do this. When you don't develop your pieces, bad things happen. So here I go king to e1.
What do you mean, Xilf? Like, you'll be a long time dead, and he's the boss. What are you?
I'm trying to set up the board here with the rooks, the rook, the knight, the bishop, the king, and the rook, all the original squares. All I'm lacking are the bishop, the knight, and the queen from being on the original squares. By doing my
too fast? Yeah, Hikaru, he talks at a very fast speed. But if you want to watch a good recap, where all of the games are analyzed, check out this video over here. Suck it up. What do you mean, Xilft? What are you trying to say? Check out the video. Leave a like. Leave a comment.
my best to set up the board, set up the pieces during the game, so I don't have to waste time afterwards doing it. So FIDE plays bishop takes knight. Now this move is winning as our basically all moves. Knight takes e3 is probably a little bit cleaner, but it really doesn't matter because black can bring the rooks to the center of the board, and I move my king all over the place. There's no hope of ever trying to castle it to the queen side. So now I play bishop takes bishop, FIDE takes, I trade the bishop, and at least I got rid of one of my pieces. I got my bishop developed on move number 25. So after knight takes bishop, I play queen to e2, he goes queen g3, king g2, he plays rook a d8, and now I go king c1. Here FIDE plays queen to g5, and now I play move b3, trying to manually castle my king to the queen side. Now it's very close to maybe surviving for another 5 to 10 moves here, if not for the next move d5. If we were playing with like rook to e8, for example, after knight to d2, even though black is winning here, I'm very close to getting my knight in the game. If I get the knight to f3, at least it'll go on for another 5 to 10 moves. But here FIDE plays move knight to f1, which is a nice discovered check, attacking the king on c1. And here I decide to resign the game, so I move the king to b2. There's knight to g3, which forces both the queen on e2 and the rook on h1. And with the rook and the knight not coming into the game, there's really no good reason to continue. So, unfortunately, with that, I lose the second round of FIDE Gujarati. I would say he played quite well. He found some very enterprising moves, bishop b6 and f5. From my standpoint, I look at it with silver lining. I simply was not there today. This was easily the worst game of chess I've played in the last couple of years. As you probably saw, even during this recap, there were moments where I thought the position was fine with that f4 g3, where it simply was not fine. It was completely lost. It just felt like today, for whatever reason, my calculations were not there. I did not make the right decision in the opening either, and with that, I lost. And I would say it's a very deserved victory for FIDE, a very deserved loss for me. When you play the way I did today, I have no business surviving in such a game. So it's not what I was hoping for. Great news is it's a long tournament, so there still are 12 more rounds. The disappointing part is that, considering, as I said before, it's the worst game I think that I played in the last couple of years, that it had to be in this tournament. It couldn't have been in the Isle of Man or say any other classical tournament I played over the last few years. But that's life. You can't really ask why does it happen here or not there. You just have to deal with it and move forward. So I lose the second round. Tomorrow I'm going to be playing with the black piece against Nijat Abasov from Azerbaijan, who lost the second round as well to Fabiano Caruana. There were 4 decisive results today, so the action is heating up. That probably bodes well for me because it means the players are going to be very aggressive, taking more chances, and hopefully I will have some opportunities to try and win some games in the remaining rounds. So on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap of the second round of the FIDE Canada's tournament being held here in Toronto, Canada. I will of course be recapping all of my games. Hopefully they aren't like today, because today was definitely a bummer, but that's how it goes. So I hope you enjoyed the recap. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back tomorrow with the recap after my third round game against Nijat Abasov from Azerbaijan. See you guys. Bye.
Yep, like Hikaru said, check out my recaps over here. Did they post his interview yet? Let's check. Okay, I guess it's not on here yet. Is it on his Kick? FX Streamer? Yep, that's what he said. He said subscribe to this channel that you're watching right now, to Benjamin's channel. Leave a like, leave a comment. It's not up yet. Oh, it's on Kick. Okay. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, he probably will say the same thing or like something similar to what he said today. Hello, Bluntly. I mean, I can watch his interview. It's fine if you guys want to. But I guess follow on Kick, and I'll show you guys why. We have been grinding on Kick. Let me show you over here. We have been grinding on Kick. We've been hitting almost all of the goals we need to hit to get into their program. We have enough subs. We have enough viewers. We have enough, we've streamed enough days, streamed enough hours. We just need more people chatting. 151 more. Thanks to Xilf for the tier 1. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Say hi on Kick. Go over here and say hi. Just hi. I'll go first. You go there and then you just type hi. That's how easy it is. Hello, D the Nuts. I think D the Nuts has been here before. Hello, Hemanisco for the poly. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate it. Thanks, Project Cyber, for the follow. Appreciate it. Thanks. Especially if you have not said hi yet. Exactly. This is a way to... Thanks, Project. Thanks. My pleasure. My pleasure. Look. 351. There we go. 149 more to go. I just say hi. That's all that we need. If you haven't said hi yet. Thanks, Moose. Hello, Kiramino. Hello, Poingalis. Who should we say hi to? Say hi on Kick. What do today's results mean for the candidates? Well, I mean, it means that right now we have 4 leaders. Hello, Einsteiny. We have 4 leaders and we have 4 people at the lower half of the field. It doesn't mean that much yet, but you know, it does mean Fabiano, Gukesh, Vidit, and Nepo are in the lead. Things are far from over for Hikaru, but you know, he has to come back sooner rather than later. Lokai. And yeah, I'm very curious to see how he's going to approach tomorrow's game. If Hikaru tomorrow wins with the black piece against Abbasov, I think he's completely back in the tournament. I mean, the draw is not a terrible result, but you want to try to come back as soon as possible, you know? Yeah, indeed, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's still many more games. Hello, M. Kai. Is M. Kai new here? Alright, well, once again, if you haven't said hi yet on Kick, I would really appreciate it. Because that's the last goal we have to hit. To get into their program. Alright. Okay. It's okay, GM Kai. We appreciate you. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap up pretty soon. Thanks everyone for all the support. Appreciate you guys. I don't know yet if I'll stream tomorrow. I mean, maybe, you know, Bullet Brawl tomorrow would make some sense. I mean, Hikaru's not playing. I don't know, maybe Danya's commentating or something. And you know, then some players are out of the way. So, if there is a day, maybe tomorrow. Anyway guys, a couple more things. Join our Discord. We've got a great community in there. Check out my courses. They are on sale. Like I said, part 1 was featured in the game today between Prag and Gukesh. They followed that up until move 14. Maybe someone can gift you the course. And there is the short and sweet, GM Kai. Get the short and sweet and give it 5 stars. I'm pretty sure if Bornik is not playing a tournament tomorrow or doing anything else, he's playing Bullet Brawl tomorrow. Because after Hikaru and Daya, then he will be the top favorite to win with Josman. Alright, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Jim Kai. Alright. Oh, yes, yeah, I saw that video. That one was pretty funny about Kramnik. Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna get mad about that. Also, guys, I would really appreciate it if you check out the video and leave a like and a comment. Or, I mean, comment would be great, just a like. Just stop by, leave a like, very easy. It would support the channel, and again, I would appreciate it. After 7 rounds, will I do the predictions of who's gonna win? I mean, right now my prediction is that Fabiano's gonna win. Or you mean predictions for the next rounds? I might just do predictions every round. Probably on Twitter or X. Again, guys, if you haven't said hi yet on Kick, say hi. It would support the channel. Would really appreciate it. So feel free to do so. Hello, Guitala, welcome. That's a new chatter right there. Again, everyone saying hi helps. We need 114 more. Slowly but surely, step by step, we're getting there. Keep up the good work. Keep doing that. You guys got this. Hello, Project Cyber. Yes. Even when I'm not live, feel free to say hi. Yep, exactly. Say hi. Because it's still my chat, you know, even if I'm not live. So definitely. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good, Project Cyberson. Alright, so I think with all of that being said and done, how does that queen sack work? What do you mean, GMK? Which one? I don't know which queen sack you're referring to. Oh, well, black just has enough positional compensation there. Because you've got two minor pieces, good piece coordination, and the white king is pretty exposed. So that's why it works. Yeah, no, it's a crazy line. I think, as I point out in that variation, you don't necessarily have to go for that line. You can also take a draw, but queen takes g2 is a nice move. Keeping the position imbalanced and going for the win. But if you like the short and sweet GMK, leave 5-star. I would really appreciate it. That goes better also for everyone else who has bought my courses. Alright, anyway, we're gonna wrap up. And I'll send you guys over to yeah. Send you guys over to Lafong. You just need to complete the course, GMK, but you can go through that very quickly. Alright, anyway, I'll send you guys over to Lafong. And on Kick, I will send you guys over to I'll send you guys over to Chessbron. Alright, see you guys.